name's Scott Mason, and I work for Stirling Council. And I've started there about 10 years ago now, and I started off as an apprentice, sort of within the countryside team. And an opportunity arose sort of around 2014 for me to become the fishery manager for Stirling Council, which for me was a huge leap, starting off as an apprentice, being managed and sort of being led to very quickly within 2 years becoming the manager and having sort of whole control of the interests on the River Forth and the River Teith for Stirling Council. It was a huge leap, but it was a great start to my journey, and it's something I've really enjoyed over the last few years. And for me, it's a great job because I've always been interested in sort of the countryside sector, especially salmon fishing. So to manage a salmon fishery at sort of 21 years old when I got the job, it was fantastic. I now manage apprentices, and I've had 4 apprentices over my time there. We're on to number 4 just now, young Marco. And why do these people come to me to get a job in sort of fisheries management sector? Well, for me, that's easy. It's a fantastic way of life. We've got a brilliant work-life balance. Our office is the riverbank. For me, it's not so much. I'm stuck in the office now, but for the guys out in the ground, it's their office is the riverbank. They get to see nature every day. They get to engage with their anglers, and they get to speak to people who've maybe never been fishing before, or it's a start to a new journey for them, and they can help them along the way. So it's a great career. We're very multi-skilled within the fisheries management sector. My team not just only look after anglers on the riverbank day to day, they also work closely with Police Scotland and people like SEPA and sort of the Fourth District Salmon Fishery Board, so that we can sort of minimise the risk and exploitation of Atlantic salmon. So they carry quite a bit of clout and power. So they work alongside the police and the water bailiffs to ensure that the protection's there for these iconic species. They also do a lot of maintenance work, so using hand tools and power tools to fix boardwalks and sort of structures on the riverbank. We also look after clients quite regularly as well. So people come to us who've maybe never been fishing before and want an experience within the industry. So they want to maybe catch their first salmon, or they're here on holiday and they're looking for something to do. We can take them out and look after them. So it's a huge range of things that we do within the fishery management sector. And for you as a young person coming in, there's sort of lots of opportunities and how you can get started there. You can go to college and start off by doing something like environmental conservation and gaining experience, or start off as a volunteer. So contact your local fisheries trust or your local sort of river board and speak to them to see what opportunities they have, and go along and get some hands-on experience, which is absolutely fantastic. There's also opportunities if you want to go to university. You can go to university and sort of go along start off at the fishery management level, or become a biologist, which we work very closely with on the ground. And the opportunities, if you start off as an apprentice, whether you're apprentice in fisheries management or an apprentice gillie on one of the bigger rivers like the River Dee or the River Tweed or the River Tay, you have opportunities then to expand, because you started off as an apprentice, and while you've been learning, you've been getting paid, which is fantastic. So you have opportunities there really for development. So you can then upskill and take on every opportunity possible that's given to you, and you can then move through, like I did, through the sort of ranks, and go from being an apprentice to being a fishery manager, or even on to being a biologist if you want to further your training. What I would look for in my apprentices, and they come in to me, I'm looking for somebody who's a great communicator, because we have got about 300 anglers fish with us every year. So I'm wanting them to have a great experience. So if I've got someone who can't engage and can't speak to that person, they're not really any good to me. So I want somebody to come in who's got good communication skills, can make that person feel welcome, make them feel like they want to come back, make my rivers feel like they're a sort of must-visit destination. I want somebody to be inventive, because we're in an ever-changing world, especially just now. I want somebody to come to me and have the thought process and come to me with ideas and say, Scott, I want to try this, or I think we should try that. So we can do that. And then I want somebody to be entrepreneurial. We are, at the end of the day, we're running a business, I run a salmon fishery by rod and line that's there to aim to make money. So I want somebody to come to me with the ideas of marketing and media and give me some ideas that we can progress and make things better, and at the end of the day make more money. I want somebody who's a good timekeeper, somebody who can stick to a schedule, especially if we're looking after clients. There's nothing worse than clients been waiting on the riverbank for you and you turn up 10, 15 minutes late and they're scratching their heads wondering, where are you? So it's all about keeping that sort of good impression and that good image of yourself and also the industry and your employer. And just touching on there about being entrepreneurial, we wear within this sector, we wear loads of different hats. As I said, we do the sort of fishery management stuff, we do the policing and enforcing, but we also do a lot of media and marketing work. So everything that we do at the end of the day is to raise the profile of the rivers, to raise the profile of the rod and line fishery, to get people to understand about the iconic species that is Atlantic salmon. And we do that through marketing work on sort of social media or through interviews with radio stations and TV channels, and just try to get the salmon fishing sector into the sort of headlines for everybody to see. Now, looking back at when I became an apprentice and now being a manager of an apprentice, what sort of things would I be looking for them to come to me from school with? And I think starting off, I think biology would be a brilliant one, because that gives you a baseline for if we're doing surveys or anything like that, you have a handle on a starting point there of what you're looking for. Maths is also a big one, because we do a lot of reports and we do a lot of calculations on fish numbers and average catches and everything like that. So we're using percentages a lot. English is also very important because, as I said, we use social media a lot. So we're writing on to the public and speaking about how we can benefit them and how we can get them to come to us instead of going to somebody else. So we want somebody to be sort of punctual and have good writing skills. And also, if something happens on the river and there's been an enforcement issue and somebody's been poaching and they've been arrested, we would be looking for that person to be able to write a statement. So that would support the case in court. Computing as well is really important. I use a computer just about every day in my working life. So looking for somebody to come into me with some computing skills. The technical knowledge of the computer we can teach them, but having a sort of baseline there for knowing how to sort of work some packages like Microsoft Word or Excel would be absolutely fantastic. And also one sort of out of the ordinary would be sort of like crafting, design or technical. So we're looking for that person to come to us with some knowledge of what a hammer is or what a panel saw is, because my team do a lot of maintenance work on the river, as I said earlier. So we're looking for you to come in and be able to pick up a hammer and a panel saw and be able to assist the guys in how to fix a boardwalk or how to fix a bench or install some rod rests. The technical stuff we can teach you, but it's good to have that sort of initial experience there that we can work on. So what sort of, I've got a note here saying what sort of technological advances or scientific sort of jobs are in the industry and where can people progress to? Well, as I said, you can start off as an apprentice like I did, and you could start off as an apprentice ghillie or an apprentice sort of in fishery management like me, and then you can progress to being a sort of head ghillie from an apprentice or to a fishery manager or even to an estate factor. Or you could go and you could further your training by becoming a biologist. And some really cool scientific stuff that happens in our industry is carried out by an organisation called the Atlantic Salmon Trust. And they're an organisation who are there, they're a registered charity, and they are there in the aim to sort of protect and increase salmon stocks throughout the world, not just here in the UK, but wherever the Atlantic salmon are, the Atlantic Salmon Trust will work to protect these species. And they do some really cool things just now where they are using acoustic tracking devices to tag a juvenile salmon called smolts. And they are looking at their migration routes from the rivers where they are born out into the North Sea, and then what route they take to actually get to their feeding grounds in and around Greenland and places like that. So that's a really cool, that's a real in-depth, pretty scientific project that the Atlantic Salmon Trust is doing. And they have biologists who are employed by them, they have research developers, they have media and marketing officers who do all this to make sure that the public are well aware of the work that the Atlantic Salmon Trust are doing. So that's a really cool thing. That's a step up from being a fishery manager. That's being a biologist, and it's really cool. That project's really exciting, and you can find out more about that if you go to the Atlantic Salmon Trust website. But also, sort of in river stuff that we do, we can do electrofishing. So we're using electrofishing packs, which is basically we have an anode and a power pack on our back, and we go into the river, and we're looking to count juvenile species. So we're using an electric current through the river to stun the fish so that we can count them to see what our juvenile populations are like. So for me, it's a fantastic industry. It's one that I'm really glad that I got into. It's given me a steer for life, and it's one that I'm sure many young people who are not necessarily interested in fishing, that's not a big thing. You don't have to be an expert in the sort of angling field to become working in fisheries management. What you do need is you need to have passion, and you do need to have an interest in sort of a countryside pursuit or a countryside way of life. So if you're interested in the countryside or sort of working in a rural location and you want to sort of be multi-skilled, the fisheries management sector is for you. I work very closely with the contractors from the agricultural sector. So if we're needing tractors to do any field work along the riverbanks, I get my agri contractors in. We use fencing contractors quite regularly, and all my team are all trained in chainsaw work, so we use them quite a lot. So we're crossing over quite a few sectors there from agriculture. We also do some sort of planting and stuff on the riverbank, so we're touching on horticulture, and we're also touching on forestry. So it's a sector which gives you lots of opportunities, one which lets you sort of get a handle and a small touch on many sectors. But obviously for me, the fishery management sector was the one that I focused on.